So here's my big question. I've been thinking about this.
Is this mic picking me up okay? When I'm faced this way, if I'm talking
my
to Jeremy
big question. Everybody's been wondering, how was the Diddy party?
The Diddy party was
Except the anal,
smashing
how was
the like
it?
button too many times.
Oh, hey now. Real question.
Well, but that is actually, I know that's kind of a tongue-in-cheek type deal.
That's not maybe not the words you want to use, dude. Come on.
No,
now.
that's good. That's
you
good.
You just went tongue-in-cheek?
Well, yeah, excuse.
Yeah, let's just, I'll say slide off of this subject, but that would be too...
That'd be too slippery. No, but even veiled in pop culture or pop, legal drama with the whole Diddy deal is a tapestry of.
Where's the list? Where's the list?
Well, that's yeah. That's I don't know. It's kind of like Jack.
There's going to be an Epstein no list.
Jack Nicholson and you in A Few Good Men. It's like there's the truth, and there's perspective to that truth, but most people aren't ready for the truth just yet. You know
what's amazing about Jack Nicholson? He came in and sat down for that, and that was all first try.
Really?
Yep. It was done in first try. And then they wanted him to do voiceovers. This is where he's like, you can't handle the truth, and you need me on that wall in the court scene. Mm-hmm. And they wanted him. He's like, Jack, I know you want to get out of here. And he's like, no, I'll stick around, man. I love doing this stuff. And he would just do the voiceovers or the extras like 10 times. And I was just like, but yeah, he was pro.
Yeah.
Miss that guy? He's not dead, is he?
I don't think so.
Still miss him either way. Yeah. So here's my serious question.
Oh, you got some serious questions.
You are a doctor.
First, we're all ready to go? Are we rocking and rolling?
Oh, yeah, we've been going, dude.
All right, so as we look in this camera here, which is
this one? Either way, it doesn't matter. Yeah. This is the...
All right. Thank you for joining us today. This is Dr. Dan Langley, and we are about to have some eye-opening conversations. If you're ready to question everything in order to find your truth and true purpose, then you've come to the right place. So today my guest is one of my best friends.
One of your best friends?
Yeah, one of my best friends. I can have more than one best friend.
All right.
Well, okay.
I'll put my ego down. I'll put my ego down.
For purposes of this podcast today, this is my absolute
boom,
top-notch, one and only best friend of all time, Jeremy Gibbons.
He's raising my vibration right there.
How are you doing? I will raise it to the roof.
He is a man after my own heart. I love me some me. So
you do love you some you.
That's okay. I have a feeling. I thought about it for a while.
Is what everyone needs,
like, what?
We did have an interesting conversation about that, and I loved last night when I had mentioned to you that I was having some trouble over the last couple months with just acquiring certain language and the flow of my thoughts. And it's normal to go through cycles of kind of a type of mania or hyper productivity, and then kind of go into a lull. And
waves up, down, up, down.
Yeah. Okay. And so, but we were talking about just energy in general. And I had said that you have a very specific type of energy.
You said manic, in which case?
I said manic and frantic, right?
Right.
Which isn't good or bad. It just is, right? You have a very,
and I can choose to take it as a negative or a positive, but know that when you give me advice over the years, more times than not, it's been right. So I tend to go with that. So I know that there's something to that.
Yeah. My point of saying that was that you have a certain type of energy. It's not a label of good or bad. It just is a quality of energy. And it seemed to be a type of energy that I was missing in my life because my brain just wasn't firing. It seemed very slothful and very sluggish. And so the pistons weren't just all firing. And so being around you for a couple of days, all of a sudden, the energy was just like, and I didn't realize it. It just kind of allowed me to start thinking crisper and clear, and the ideas and the concepts that otherwise were eluding me before because I wasn't firing all cylinders. It seemed to be that was the energy that I needed to kind of raise my critical thinking abilities up to where they had been before, where I'd kind of said, hey, this is my normal state of being. So, and to that end, we were talking about other people in our life and the qualities of energy that they have.
Yes.
And so you had said that there's a young lady in your life that had kind of done something maybe similar to that. Tell me about that.
Well, yes. So how that had happened was I had been asking for someone that I could have some meaningful relationship at, but just on a spiritual level and having some conversation. And I said, geez, I'd love to have a beautiful woman that I could meet with instead of, and I had a type, you know, I grew up with Olivia Newton-John and Xanadu.
I think that was many people's type.
I know, but it's been a type, and that's okay. Stick to your type sometimes. But I knew that I couldn't grow. I knew that this person that came along is going to be what it is that I needed to take that next step. Because everything up till now at 50, and I was cool. I run around the world and do a lot of fun stuff and enjoy it. But I've got a couple kids. And
you're definitely, not in a negative way, but you were kind of living the Playboy lifestyle. When we were growing up, I kind of, I idolized the way that you were living your life because we kind of grew up poor a little bit, but you were a fisherman in Alaska.
We grew up poor. I'm from Alaska, and my grandmother was a bush pilot in Southeast Alaska. Mm-hmm. So if you go back,
like my great for Alaska.
Yeah, she was the first Native American woman, I believe, to have her pilot's license in the United States. So she was a float plane pilot in Ketchikan. That's how they made money. So growing up that way and free in the DNA, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. It drove me nuts because I went to school, college. It was the longest 2 weeks of my life, I can tell you that much. So I spent more time hanging out with you at college with a hangover than I actually spent probably. It's like, no, I didn't get it. I'm like, But I also grew up not seeing a whole lot and didn't know a lot of things were out there. So I knew that I needed to go and live in fishing and the Bering Sea, deadliest catch type stuff. I wasn't on that, but it was all the same time. And I realized that because I did that when I moved south, people had no idea what fishing was, but that show, when I broke into the fishing world, and we went off the main question, by the way, when I went in the fishing world.
We're going to bring it back. Yeah.
Other people.
I'm holding it in my mind here.
Other people are going, oh my gosh. And I saw this reaction of energy from them in this way. And it being in sales, I started to notice that the things and how I said them was going to elicit a certain response. So I then started to liken that to, say, a cause and effect, which is a hermetic principle. And I'm like, if I just kind of stick to these things, there's some rules like synchronicities, right? It's like this rhythm that you just kind of bounce off of. Anyway, Ellie.
So Ellie. Yeah.
So for some reason, I want to take this hypnotherapy class. I was just going to get it because I was having these those thoughts, and you meet an old love, and you're like, why do we ever break up? And then you have a couple conversations. You're like,
I know why we broke up.
Yeah. But and then I was like, maybe we're spending. I was like, it's been 2 years, dude. So I'm like, sometimes I like some Reiki, and I go, I'm going to try a little, pardon me, a little hypno. And I start downloading and the gal's, trying to sell me, but I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. So I'm signed up for hypnotherapy class. Yeah. And I come walking
in. My mom was a hypnotherapist back.
I didn't know that, bro.
Yeah, right before she got Parkinson's. And so, so I designed her business card with like some psychedelic.
It was Donna's birthday yesterday?
Like, it was my mom's birthday on Monday. So
sometimes I think, we'll have probably a conversation on the afterlife and where energy goes, but
that was, this awakening now at age 50 could have easily happened when I was 15 because my mom was there kind of in that space, say, not forcing on us, but there is like, hey, if you're ever interested, here's Star Trek and here's some, take your elements, the potassium supplement that they were selling back in the mid 80s. K9, I think it was called, maybe like that. At any rate,
K9.
Yeah, it was a multi-level marketing.
In the mid-80s,
like
do you remember when we went to you had the drive and knew that you were going to be successful because you had me and Gene and I think Cammie, and I'm sitting down at the bottom of the stadium for Amway and I'm looking up. I go, we're not up there, bro. We're down here. I said, I think this might take a while, but I did buy some prophylactics.
It was called KM.
Oh, sorry.
Well, potassium mineral supplement. So at any rate, so we had these opportunities when we were younger, but we just weren't really in that space. We had to kind of live our Playboy lifestyles as we were growing up. And what I had said earlier about
traveling around the world.
About the Playboy part is that I was kind of focused on, come up with whatever term you want, but you lived footloose and fancy free. You'd go up to
unrestricted.
Yeah. You'd go up and fish, all summer long and come back with a wad full of cash. And you really could you name your own ticket. You do whatever you want, whenever you want, which was cool. I was like, man, this structure of me having to study and go to school and be disciplined and do this stuff. I was like, man, I wish I could do what Jeremy was doing. And so yes, you were living a playboy lifestyle. You may not like that connotation that gives in your mind, but when I see that, it's like Tony Stark. It's like a billionaire playboy philanthropist. Like, that seems pretty good, right?
Well,
so at any rate, so when you met Ellie going through your
tell me more about me.
class. Sorry about the bird walk with my mom.
I'm not going to stop you. What were we even talking about?
We're talking about you were starting with the hypnotherapy. And so you were getting off. We were going to.
So I come into this class, right? And I know there's some stuff been going on. And anyway, I sit down, and then there's this little gal there, and she's black and got the leopard skin out, the thing, and black hair. And of course, I've kind of been partial blondes, and I'm like, phew, I'm not here for her, Like, there's no way, right? So she's going through a little bit of stuff, and she's there actually to get over this relationship. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting. And I'm like, phew, it's definitely not going to be her, because who's crazy enough to go and she's clearly broken. Thank God. Right.
Hey, that is the best
it's a
recipe.
Lesson to learn.
You get two broken souls to come together.
I sit down and say to her something about the Hermetic principles, or how did you get the double helix tattoo on her hand? And she goes, oh, that's my dad's life work. And I go, what's that? And she says, he wrote one of the first books on Hermeticism in your DNA.
Yeah, that's wild.
And I had said, I want an attractive woman that I can have meaningful conversations and grow with, and not have it be about the outside. And I got what I got exactly what I asked for. And so because of that relationship, when we're together, it wasn't a physical one. It was enough to light the fire, but we chose to take that energy and go, look, we could be intimate, but we know, we're old enough to know what could happen.
Sure.
So it's kind of like cause and effect. It was, I like to say, you kind of hover above and look out. And so one of these two things is going to happen. And I think your friendship is more important than.
Yeah. And so that energy to you was something that you were just kind of craving, and not craving, but needing in your life. And so as you put that out there for the universe to say, hey, I'm looking for a more mature, healthy relationship, and the world delivers it in a very synchronistic way that you weren't quite expecting.
Right.
And so the purpose of me bringing that up is to simply say that, Ellie had this certain type of energy that you didn't realize that you kind of needed. And
no, but once she said that, and I said, oh my gosh, I started to realize that that's what it was. And then I'm speaking to her, she's like, what is it? And I'm like, so she and I got very productive. And then I realized that after last night, when I was walking, that's what happened to you, is that when our minds are together, because I think we're just a similar energy, that I elevate you and you elevate me. And sometimes you get those people in your life that are there for some reason. And then later it's like, it's time to kick it into gear. Yeah. Let's do some fun stuff. There's your.
Yeah. And so it's, did
that make sense?
It did.
Pablo?
And part of what we were talking about before that in the sauna was that,
this is a totally masculine sauna, by the way, out there, everybody. Now, there's anything wrong with that.
We had most of our clothes on.
Come on.
Yeah, I hate.
Cut that out. Yeah.
Yeah. I was dressed.
Carry on, sir.
At any rate, so
you digress.
I digress. We discussed the concept of space in the vacuum. And one of the kind of, not really epiphanies,
we're going at it real quick. Not even foreplay. We're going straight to vacuums.
Yeah, this is like we save the milk for babies, meat for strong men.
All right,
so we're strong men here. So this is all kind of revolves around the same thing as far as just energy. And so since we were talking about how in reality, in the actual reality and structure of the universe, or this universe that we're in now, is that the universe is absolutely full of energy. Yet we've been told that space is actually a vacuum devoid of energy in the way that we see it. And so if we knew the truth about reality being infinitely full of energy, then we wouldn't by default seek for it in the next highest source. The next highest source of energy in our paradigm is other people. And so the reason why I kind of tilled the soil a little bit with that concept is that when we look towards our friends and family to give us the energy that we feel like we're deficient in, even though we're not, once we learn to re-pull that energy from the ether or space, from the fabric of reality.
Do you know where ether comes from?
Tell me about that.
Either. Do you know where either comes from?
I do not.
You know where the term either.
Tell me about that.
It either comes from ether. You have 1 foot on either side. You have one foot in this reality and one foot in
I like that.
next. I didn't make it up.
No,
I'd love to
I
take
know.
claim for it, but that's been around for a while.
But that's good. I like that because indeed we're not just these organic beings. We are more than that, or we're not, based on the limitations of our thoughts. But what I was saying about the energy there is that since we either have forgotten or are ignorant to the fact that the energy permeates everything. It's whether it's being like Star Wars, like the Force. It's if we were to then tap into that force, then we would have all the energy that we needed. But since we are ignorant of that fact, we tap into other people for sources of our energy. So if I need self-motivation, and rather than recognize that I have that of my own accord and I can pull it from the universe at any time in any place, I've been conditioned to think that I have to get it from other people, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you have a uplifting, energizing energy, then I'm going to want to hang out with you, especially if I'm deficient, if I feel like I'm deficient in that area.
We just got there. Some say I talk in circles. I choose to say that I talk circularly. We'll just get back around it like a
everything is circular anyway. Yeah.
Hey now.